Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarvavignopashantaye Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murtibheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Okay. So some people wanted to see this Lingashtakam. So I thought, okay, even though it's very not too complicated, text-wise, language-wise, but it's nice to see. It's very popular, everybody knows. So Lord Shiva is worshipped in many forms, many forms. So for example, as Dakshinamurti is worshipped, then he is worshipped as Nataraja. There is another form as the creator, as the dancer, cosmic dancer. Dakshinamurti as the teacher. Or then you have form which is Chandrasekhara, sometimes just a form of Lord Shiva with all his ornaments and moon, etc. Or you may see him as Ardhanarishwara, that form. Or as Lord Shiva seated on the bull, so with Parvati. Like that, different forms are there. In the north, generally, if you go to a Shiva temple, always there will be some murti will be there. Even though they have a lingam. So they'll have a Shivalingam and they will have some murti. If you go to Shiva temples in the south, generally murti we don't see, any other form. The only murti means form, but the only form you see is the lingam, which is not the other form with where he looks like a person. So, but lingam is the original. Shiva worship was originally in the form of lingam only. So lingam will always be there, whether the other one is there or not. So there is always this question, what does this form represent? The lingam form actually represents the infinite. So lingyate or buddhyate, nyayate, anena iti lingam. That by which something is known, that by which something is understood is called lingam. So means that which is a symbol, essentially, that which is a symbolic representation of something. So here, Shivalingam is the symbolic representation of Ishvara or of Parameshwara, the infinite. Why in this particular form? So this is the traditional form. Also, lingam is not a specific form. It's as if you put all forms together, then it will be some one kind of a heap-like. Even that, when you see in temples, different temples, in all you don't see the form of Shivalingam the way we know Shivalingam, So like a vertical, column-like form. Some of them are different, some of them are a little irregular also. So in Badrinath, where the Shivalingam is made of ice or snow, so there the form keeps changing. Because depending on the temperature. So it is like one of the, what do they call, the stalagmite. So in the winter time, so it's colder and then it becomes, the lingam is bigger. In the summertime, some of it melts off, So there are, but then lingam is primarily the form of column. That is another way in which Lord Shiva manifests. So in the form of this column of light. There is a verse in Skanda Purana which says, so Akasham Lingam Ityahuhu Prithvi Tasya Pitika Alayam Sarva Devanam Layar Lingam Uchyate. Layanar Lingam Uchyate. So, what does Shivalingam stand for? So the lingam itself has two parts. There is a Shivalingam and there is the Peetham. That on which it rests is called the Peetham. So either they say one stands for Shiva and Shakti, or like here Akasham, Lingam stands for Akasha. Akasha represents infinite. So formless. So the Lingam itself stands for the formless. Akasham is the Lingam. Then Prithvi is the Pitika. That which it rests on is Prithvi. Sarva Devanam Alayam. It is that which is the infinite, that which is the abode, the resting place for all the Deva, which is Parameshwara or Ishvara. And where Layana means where Laya takes place, where the unmanifest. So when the whole Jagat becomes unmanifest, that in which it abides is what is represented by this Lingam. So there are some, among Shivalingam they say there are a couple of different types. There is what they call as Sthavara Lingam. So Sthavaram is so that which is fixed. Yeah. Generally, they are what are called as lingams which are natural, natural formations. Or they will find a stone which looks like a Shivalingam naturally. And it is not carved. And then that is Sthapanam, that is put there, installed, and there is a temple built like that. Or there is some Swayambhu, they are called Swayambhus, they just, in nature, they are manifest, they are available. These are what are called as Sthavara Lingas, in a temple. So once in a temple it is established like that. Or they have what are called as Charalingas. Charalingas are movable. So those are usually the ones which you buy from the store. So they may be made of some stone, some kind of stone, or they are made of granite, or they are made of marble, or gems also sometimes. They'll make them of gems, you see, made of jade and things like that. Or even Spatika. Spatika is special. So generally Atmalingam, there's some of them they'll call Atmalingam. Or wood also. Sometimes they make Shivalingam of wood. So these are called as Charalingas. Then there is another term which you may hear or come across. It is called Ishtalingam. Ishtalingam is the term used by, there is a group of people who are Shiva Bhaktas, staunch Shaivites. They are called Lingayats. So these Lingayats, mainly in Karnataka region and the surrounding states, they are Shiva Bhaktas and they wear a lingam on their body. So it's the Lingayat community was initiated by one person called as Basava in the 12th century, who was a Shaivite. And then he kind of, the Jati Veda, Brahmana, etc., he went against that. And so in this community, they have their own, they are basically Shaivites, Shiva Bhaktas. But then there is no Upanayanam and all this, the initiation is for everybody. Everybody is equal. So even men and women, both of them get initiated. So into the mantra, the Shiva mantra. And they start wearing this lingam on their, either on their neck or on their, like Yajnopavitam, like they'll wear. The big community, they are there. Even in the US they are there. So they are called Lingayats. Or they are called Lingavantas. So those who wear Shivalingam. There the Shivalingam, they represents the infinite. Represents Ishvara, Parameshwara. So they will worship that. They have certain rules. Acharas are there. Every day they have to sit down and do this. Or Shiva Pillais, in India, they are all very staunch Shiva Bhaktas. I know some people, they get up at 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours, 3 hours, they will do Shiva Puja like that. So thus this is, Shiva, Linga worship is always there. Anyway, so with that much little bit background we can look at this. So Lingashtakam is made up of, it's an Ashtakam, so there are 8 verses which we will see. Brahma Mura, well, everybody knows, right? So we can just recite one verse at a time. Brahma Murari Surarchita Lingam Nirmala Bhashita Shobhita Lingam Janmaja Dukkha Vinashaka Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. Okay. So Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. This is a common quarter verse that is there everywhere in every verse. So Pranamami is I salute, I worship, I do namaskaram to what? Tat Lingam, to that Shivalingam, which is what? Sada Shivalingam. The lingam which is always one that gives me auspiciousness, that is in the form of auspiciousness, that is in the form of a blessing. So that which always blesses is what is called as Shivam. Sada Shivalingam. So what kind of a lingam is this? It stands for Parameshwara or Ishvara. Brahma Murari Surarchita Lingam. So lingam, which is Bhagwan, who is Architam. Architam is the one who is worshipped, or the one who is praised. Who is praised by whom? Brahma Murari Surarchitam. So is praised by Brahmaji. Brahma is Brahmaji, Murari is, so Murasya Arihi, Shatru. So Murasya Shatru is called Murari. Murari is another name for Sri Krishna or Sri Vishnu. So the one who is worshipped by, so Brahma and Vishnu. So if you remember this, Lord Shiva, Brahma and Vishnu had this discussion. So in the they say that in the Purana that both Brahmaji was doing penance. So Sri Vishnu was also doing penance, and then in between when they had some break time, so they would go for a walk. So in the course of a walk they ran into each other, and then they had different discussions. So in one of the discussions they ended up with this contention as to who was better, who was bigger. But then of course, each one thought that he was bigger. It's not that the contention is each one says you are bigger. That's generally never an issue. So each one thinks they are bigger. And so they can't come to a conclusion. At that point they see this light. They see this column of light. So which extends above and extends below. And then they hear a voice saying that, so whoever discovers what this is and finds the end point is the greater person, so or greater Deva. So here, our Vishnuji, so Sri Vishnu goes downwards to seek the lower end, and Brahma goes up, and they travel going. They don't find the end. But in the meanwhile, so after a while they go all the way. The Vishnu comes back, could not find the end of the column. Brahmaji on his way going up, he comes across a pushpam. They say either a pushpam or a bird, some coming down. So he said, let me check, since I have come all this way, let me check with this hamsa, this bird or the flower, as to where is this end. So that flower didn't know also. But then he comes down anyway and said, I found the end. It was there at the top, and this flower was sitting on the top, and so I discovered that. So anyway, I think essentially he lied. But then Shiva manifests at that time. The Lord Shiva manifests and then points out that he lied there at the time, so he gets punished. In fact, they say, that's why you will not find temples to Brahmaji. in India. There are temples for all other devatas, but you won't find a temple dedicated to Sri Brahmaji. They say there's only one temple. Yeah. And even there, this particular pushpam, I forget the name now, but this particular pushpam, that was the one he had, is never offered to Lord Shiva. So that pushpam is never offered. So anyway, the idea being here that Lord Shiva was that Bhagavan has no beginning and end, is infinite, it cannot be recognized. Thanks. So Lord Shiva as Parameshwara, as the infinite, who has no beginning and no end, is what is this Murti, Lingam. And this, if you go to any temple in South India, you find this. In a Shiva temple, when you go around, there will always be one Murti, which is called Lingodbhava Murti. You will see, generally on the back side or side, somewhere it will be there. In every temple you find this. So there is a column, and inside that there is a face, Lord Shiva. One Shiva will be there. That is called Lingodbhava Murti. So there is a Murti which is Lord Shiva as he manifests in this column of light, which is also Tiruvannamalai. It stands for that. The Giri is supposed to be this light which manifested. In any case, both Brahmaji and Vishnu then worship Lord Shiva or praise Lord Shiva as the Lord, as the infinite Lord. So Brahma, Murari, and not only the two of them, Surarchitam, all the Suras also. Suras are who? So Sushtu Dadati, the one that always give, that bless when you pray to them, those that bless you with positive punyam, they are called Devas. So, or Suras. So they all worship this Lord Shiva. Nirmala Bhashita Shobhita Lingam. So the one that is Shobhitam, the one that is adorned by what? By this praise. Nirmala Bhashana, by a praise which is so free from any blemish. Shiva, Lord itself, is free from any blemish. And all the praises that are there for him, all the worship that is there for him is also free from any blemish. Janmaja Dukkha Vinashaka Lingam. So that one which destroys what? Dukkham. What kind of Dukkham? Janmaja. Janmaja means that which is born. Dukkham from the time of birth. Means Dukkham that you are born with. What is the Dukkham you are born with? All the papas. So we are all born with certain punya and papa karma, the prarabdham that we talked about. So the prarabdha karmas, which is the janmaja, born from the time of birth, which is responsible for my birth. So all of them, the one that destroys, means prayer. Prayer to the Lord in the form of Shivalingam destroys all the punya papas, all the prarabdha karmas. Janmaja dukkha vinashaka lingam tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. Deva muni pravararchita lingam kamadaham karunakara lingam Ravanadarpa vinashana lingam tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. Deva muni pravar archita lingam. Architam, not only by the devas. So Deva again repeats. That's why sometimes this is attributed to Shankaracharya. He will not repeat generally ideas. If you see any of his stotrams and all, you won't find. You'll find different kinds of ideas. So anyway, he is one who is worshipped again by who? By Devas and Munis. Munis are the rishis. Mananashilas, the rishis, and Pravaras, Mantra Drishtaraha. Rishis are the one who were able to visualize the mantras. So all the mantras that have come down to us have come from the rishis who visualized them. That means they say they got them from Bhagavan. So plus Pravara. What is Pravara? So Pravaras are also rishis. They are rishi. They are either the rishis that originate the gotras. They are the Pravaras, or those that are Shrestha. Pravara means Shrestha. So the ones who are the exalted rishis within one's gotra are called Pravaras. So there are these seven rishis supposed to be gotra, initiator of gotras. Agastya, Angiras, Atri, Bhrigu, Kashyapa, Vasishtha and Vishwamitra, or Bharadwaja sometimes, among the Brahmana gotras. Then Vishwamitra was a Kshatriya, born Kshatriya. So sometimes Vishwamitra is included. There are a couple of different groups, So sometimes Vishwamitra is included in the group, sometimes in the other group is not included in the Purana. But in any case, this is two different versions. Or there are also the Sapta Rishis. The Sapta Rishis are the rishis that initiated the Gotrams. Then within the Gotrams there were other rishis also. So for example, in this Kashyapa Gotram, so there were this Kashyapa, Nidruva and Avatsara. These are the names of other rishis. So they are the Pravaras. They are the Pravaras. So for example, mine is so Kashyapa, Naidruva and Naidruva. So like that. That is all part of one's identity. So when you introduce yourself, a person introduces himself after getting the Yajñopavitam, they have to mention Gotram, Pravara, then their Sutra and Shakha. These four things is what is your historical identity, religiously, from a religious standpoint. So Gotram will of course be whichever Gotram you come from, like Kashyapa Gotram. Then Pravara, if you know the name of some other rishis that are also there connected, so that particular Pravara you can mention. Then the Sutra. Sutra is the Kalpa Sutra, like Apastamba Sutra. So there are different Kalpa Sutras. Kalpa Sutra is connected to rituals. So because there are so many, so there are certain, everybody can't follow everything, So they will follow family-wise. So you particular, like Apastamba Sutra, Dhyayi, like that you will see. So the one who follows this Apastamba Sutra, and of course Shakha. Shakha is which particular Shakha of the Veda, like Taittiriya Shakha. So like that there are different recensions, what they call it. Within one Veda, there are different readings of that Veda. All the content is the same, but the order may be different. Or there may be slight variation. Some mantras will be here, some mantras may not be there. So like that, they are all called different shakhas. So as a person, when a person gets his Upanayanam, then Yajñopavitam, in the ceremony he is told. So what these four things he is informed of. So whenever he identifies himself after that, they will say all these four things. So suppose you go and meet somebody, then you are supposed to introduce yourself and say all these four things. So Muni Pravarachitam, so the one who is worshipped by all the great souls in my lineage. See, first starting from Devas, and naturally my own personal lineage, all the rishis, and then all the other rishis in my Gotram, the one who is worshipped by them. Kamadaham, Dahati, the one who destroys, the one who burns all the kamas, all the desires. Why desires have to be burned? Desires is those desires that hold me back. That's all. Not desires. Ultimately, all desires go away. In the sense, once the person discovers the fullness that he is, that means that indicates the is the absence of desires that are born of a sense of limitation. Not a desire, simple desire. When you're hungry, you want to eat. That also can be called as a desire. Or pursuing knowledge is also a desire, but that is not what we are referring to. Here when we talk of desire, this avidya, the avidya kama karma. So the kamas that are born of avidya, knowledge, ignorance of one's own nature, which give rise to the karmas, which gives rise to the life cycle of birth and death, all that kamas are the ones who destroys all of them. Not only that, he is karunakara lingam. So the Lord in the form of the lingam who is full of karuna. Karuna is compassion, accommodation, Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is to be understood as one full of compassion. That means one not to be afraid of. Anything, if he is compassionate, it's like a mother, like a compassionate mother, not an abusive mother. A compassionate mother is one is never afraid of that, or a compassionate parent, anybody. The child will always be comfortable going. So like that, if I look upon the Lord as compassionate, full of karuna, then what is there to fear? You can be, in fact, you can only be yourself with Bhagavan. If I understand the Lord completely. So thus, to that lingam, to that Lord, Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam, the one who destroyed the Darpana. Ravana Darpa is Ahankara, the ego of Ravana. It's interesting, So Ravana was a Brahmana, Bhakta, great Bhakta of Shiva. Then he worships Lord Shiva. And he wants from him this lingam, It's called Atma Lingam. Atma Lingam is a lingam that is Shiva's Atma, means Lord Shiva himself, his Swarupa, as manifested in this particular lingam, is Atma Lingam. It's called Atma Lingam. Generally, the lingams made of spatika, they will say, is Atma Lingam, because it is clear, like Atma, clear, without any blemish, without any color. It is crystal-like. It's crystal, not made of glass, but made of natural spatika. So thus, he wanted this Atma Lingam. So it's very Shiva himself. It's Shiva himself. So he prays to Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is pleased and he gives him this Atma Lingam. So now he is bringing it back to his kingdom, Sri Lanka. He is bringing back Lord Shiva himself. So all the devas become afraid. So he is going to create a problem. So they have to come up with something to prevent him from being able to take it back to his home. So then Lord Vishnu, he creates a false dusk, evening time. Suddenly it becomes dark. So Ravana thinks it's evening now, it's Sandhya, and he has to do Sandhya Vandanam, he has to do, because he does his daily Sandhya Vandanam. So he has reached the water, the ocean bank, the ocean, and so he has this lingam. Now when Lord Shiva gave him the Atma Lingam, he said, this is lingam you have to carry in your hand. You can't put it down. If you put it down, then you won't be able to, you lose it. You won't be able to lift it up again. So until you get to your destination, you can't put it down. So then here, suddenly it becomes Sandhya. Now what is he to do? He has to do his Nitya Puja, he has to do. So then at that point, he suddenly sees this one Brahmin boy is there on the beach, who happens to be, Sri Ganesha. So Lord Ganesha comes in the form of this small boy, just standing around there. And so Ravana sees him and says, he's here. Can you please hold this? I'm not supposed to put this down on the ground. I have to do my Sandhya. So can you just hold it for me until I am finished? So he said, okay, I'll do that. So he holds it, takes it from him. Then he said, this is very heavy. It's too heavy. No, just hold it. Try to, don't put it down. It's too heavy. I can't hold it for long. I'll hold it, but I don't think I can hold it for too long. So he said, no, don't worry, I'll quickly do my Sandhya and come back. He goes to do his Sandhya, then Lord Ganesha, so very quickly he puts it down on the ground. And then when he comes back, it is not there. He says, what happened? He says, it was too heavy, I could not hold it for so long. And so the Ravana has to give up. He has to give up the lingam there and go back. So this is how the Devas got protected. So thus Lord, this Ravana at different stages, he was always had this potential of doing, misusing whatever punyam he got from Bhagavan.
There is a temple in Karnataka on the seashore, which is for Shiva, and there you can see marks of, as if somebody has been trying to remove it.
Oh, really?
So Ramana was trying to remove it. Yeah. So all the marks are there. The temple is still there. I get the name. So seashore. They said that's where he brought it. Ganesha kept it down.
So couldn't anyway. So that is anyway the Lord. So he put Ravana also in his place, the one who did that. Unto that Lord, the infinite Lord, is pranamami, my salutation. Sarva sugandhi sulepita lingam buddhi vivardhana karana lingam siddha surasura vandita lingam tat pranamami sada shivalingam. Sarva sugandhi sulepita lingam. Lepitam. Lepa. Lepam. Lepam is this to smear, yeah. So the Lord Lingam, Lord's Lingam, who that is smeared with what? With Sarva Sugandhi, all different, so different things which have perfume, perfume things like sandal, etc. So the one that is decorated by all fragrant items. Buddhi Vivardhana Karanam. Bhagavan, this is prayers, for what? It is the Vivardhana, means to growth. Growth of what? Buddhi. Buddhi is there. It is one thing to have buddhi. It's another thing to be able to function properly. Yeah? It has to grow. It has to grow. Stunted. Growth, we can be stunted physically, we can be stunted intellectually. So the buddhi which is not stunted means viveka. The buddhi that has the capacity to discriminate, to make the proper judgment, to guide me properly, that has to grow. It has to happen. It doesn't just automatically happen. For that we need a lot of punya. So life experiences happen, but we have to interpret them properly. We have to grow from them. So that only happens when it is accompanied by prayer. Therefore pranamami. So even it is my prayers to the Lord that make the Lord blesses me in the form of what? Buddhi vivardhana, means growth of buddhi. Also giving me jijnasa, ultimately leading me in the right direction. People all start off correctly in the right direction, then they get sidetracked. They get sidetracked by all the detours that are on the way. Siddha surasura vanditam. Again, the one who is worshipped by siddhas. Siddhas are what? Accomplished people, spiritually accomplished. So you can be a siddha in anything. So siddha, even some forms of doctors, magicians called siddhas. So siddha is the one who is accomplished, the one who has the siddhi, particular accomplishment. But here we are referring to spiritual accomplishment, siddha purushas. So the one who are siddhas, the one who are suras. Suras are devas, we saw before. And not only that, asuras also. So not only that, devas and asuras, all the ganas, everybody worships Lord Shiva, worships Parameshwara. So even asuras worship the Lord. So that's where they get the Shakti from. So they don't have this special asura god to worship. Asuras also worship Bhagavan only. And from whom they get all their Shakti. And that's why they end up becoming asura is really choice. You become an asura because of wrong, like Ravana. Was Ravana an Asura?
No.
Well, he was an Asura by his actions. He became an Asura. Really. So by gunas, he was all Asura gunas only, his behavior. But he didn't start that way. He was a Bhakta. And he continued to be Bhakta also. We can't even say that he stopped being a Bhakta. Mahabali did not stop being a Bhakta. He continued to be a Bhakta. But then, for some reason, he continued to also make wrong choices. Yeah. There's a story about this Brihaspati. So Brihaspati, Shukracharya was the teacher, guru of the Asuras. Brihaspati was the guru of Devas. So there was a period of time when Shukracharya is not available for 10 years or something. He's not available. At that time, Brihaspati disguises himself as Shukracharya and goes to the Asuras. And then they think he is Shukracharya. And then he teaches them. And when he taught them, all their thinking became non-Asuric thinking. They all become so better for a period of time. Until then Shukracharya comes back and all, then he gets very upset at them. That this is what, they mistook, they were fooled like this. And so, but then, later on again, they apologized to him and whatnot, and then but even Shukracharya did not teach them wrong things. Because he was still an Acharya. It is these fellows who wouldn't follow. So, in any case, so the one who is worshipped by both the Devas and the Asuras and the Siddha Purushas, unto that Lord is my salutation.
Yeah, so what is Vivartanam?
Is growth. Vardhanam is to Pushti Vardhanam. Trembakam Ijamahe Sugandhim Pushti Vardhanam. So the one that gives Pushti, growth. Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita Lingam Panipati Veshtita Shobhita Lingam Daksha Suyajna Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam. Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita Lingam. Bhushitam, the one that is adorned by what? So Kanaka is gold. Then Mani, Mahamani. So money is gems. Mahamani, different kinds of gems. Maybe diamonds, What is among all the monies, gems. The greatest gem is diamond. So the one that is decorated by diamonds and gems and gold. Panipati Veshtita Shobhita Lingam. Pani is a snake. Or a hooded snake. Hooded snake is called Pani. Panipati. Pati is what? The Lord. No? Remember Rudram we are doing. So Pati. So the Lord, Pani is Lord of the snakes. Who's who? Who's that? Vasuki. Vasuki Kantabhushanam. Shiva is also called Vasuki Kantabhushan. The one who has Vasuki around his neck. So he says, Panipati Veshtitam. Veshtitam is the one who's surrounded by the snake, say Vasuki. Lord Shiva brought Vasuki actually from Patala Loka. So at the time of this churning of the milk, so Devas needed the mountain, so that the Mandar mountain that had to be carried. It was huge and put in the ocean. Nobody could do it. Finally, Garuda is requested to do. He goes, brings the mountain, and then it is put there. And then you need something to churn. The Vasuki is the lord of the snakes. He can only do it. He is only big enough to do it. So then Garuda is asked, you please go and bring him also. He says, no problem, I'll go get him. So he goes down and he picks him one end. picks up one end of... No, he asks, of course, first he requests him. We would like you to... We need you for this particular job. So I have to take you there. He said, well, I am too big and it's too far to go, etc. So if you really want to get me there, you have to carry me. I have, I cannot walk all the way there. There is no problem, I'll carry you. So he picks him up one end, picks him up. He's so big that he's not able to lift him. It's long, extends forever. Then he folds him into half. He says, maybe from the middle I should pick him up. So he picks him up from the middle. As he's flying up, still he cannot reach. He cannot reach the other end of Vasuki. So he gives up. I am not able to do that. So then Lord Shiva is requested, Parameshwara, you please, he has to be brought. So Lord Shiva extends his hand to Patala. Extends his hand to Patala Loka, and then Vasuki, so he wraps himself around the hand as his anklet. Not anklet, the wristlet, yeah. So he becomes a wristlet, and then so Lord Shiva just pulls him to this side. So it means, I guess he's infinite, yeah. So Bhagavan is infinite. For him, there is no end. So this Vasuki, the hooded snake, is the one who is his. So Kantabhushanam, Bhanipati, who's decorated, Shobhitam, who's adorned by the snakes. Not only that, he had snakes all over. Not only just on his neck, but also on his anklets. He's also called Naga Kundala. His Kundala. That's why in the pictures you will see all these descriptions are there. So Naga, his Kundalas, his earrings are snakes, his wristlets, bangles, wrist anklets, everything is all Nagas. So, where are we? Buddhi Viva, no. Pranipati Veshtita Shobhita Lingam. Daksha Suyajna Vinashana Lingam. The one who destroyed, who was responsible for destroying the yajna of Daksha. You know this story. So Daksha, so he was performing this Mahayajna called Brihaspati Savana Yajna, at which time he did not invite his Shivji and his daughter Sati. He did not invite them. Why he didn't invite? So because he thought this Lord Shiva is Ashuddhi. He will cause Ashuddhi, his presence. Why? Because, he goes about with all this. So he lives in the Smashanam. And then he has all these snakes all over him. And not only that, more than that, he carried around this begging bowl, which was the skull. It was the skull of Brahmaji, actually. The skull of Brahmaji. So he was responsible for, at one point, an altercation with Brahmaji, where Brahmaji had 5 heads. So he cut off one of his head, the one on the top. And Brahmaji ended up with 4 heads. But then because he did that, it was Brahmana Hatya he did. Big sin, Papam. That thing wouldn't come off his hand. And then he was cursed by Brahmaji that he will always have to beg for his food. And his begging bowl would have to be the skull. You'll find sometimes nowadays, even some of these, what are they called, these Nagas, Shiva, staunch Shaivais and all, their Kamandulu will be some skull they pick up from somewhere. In any case, so this is what he is. And if he comes to the yajna, then he perhaps, I'm sure he didn't have a bad intention, but perhaps he thought it would be Ashuddhi, so I should not invite him. He doesn't invite them. Anyway, Sati goes there because it's her father's house. She figures, I have the right to go. She goes there, and then he doesn't go. Lord Shiva doesn't go, but then, so she is not even welcome there. So, and then she gets very upset, etc. Lord Shiva finds out, he comes, and then, so in his reaction, in his anger, this Veerabhadra and Bhadrakali are born from his jata, and then they destroy the whole yajna. So thus, Dakshasu yajna vinashana lingam, the one who, so because of whom this Daksha's yajna was so brought to an end, that Lord Shiva who is in the form of this lingam, Shivalingam, I worship. Kumkuma chandana lepita lingam, pankajahara sushobhita lingam, sanchita papa vinashana lingam, tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. So kumkuma chandana lepitam, again the one that is smeared by. So kumkuma. Kumkuma is an auspicious, sign of auspicious. There are different types of this red powder, They have different names, 4 or 5 different types. So, but kumkumam is one of them. And chandanam. Chandanam is sandal paste. So the one that is smeared, that's why they will decorate the lingam with all these different things. With bhasma, chandanam, all this you see. Then pankajaharam. Pankajam is lotus. So the one, pankaha is mud. So pankajam, the one that is born of like janmajam, janmaja dukkham, like pankajaharam. So the one that is born in mud and then that comes out as a lotus. Pankajahara, the one that is adorned, decorated by the lotus flowers. Sanchita papa vinashanam, the one that destroys all the sanchita karmas. Sanchitam are infinite in number. So the ones that are not manifest yet, the ones that are manifest is prarabdham, the one that is not yet manifest, the one that is in our account yet to be manifest, they are the sanchita papas, the one that destroys all of them.
What sanchita means?
Karma, sanchita karmas. So sanchita karmas, the papas that are connected to my sanchita karmas, yet to manifest. Yeah, the one that I am born because of which is called prarabdha karma. The one that are sitting in my account, which are not yet manifest, which are fructifying, is called sanchitas. And the one that are as a result of the actions that I do now, after having been born, is called agami karma. So, the one that destroys all these sanchita papas. Unto that my namaskar. Devaganarchita sevita lingam, bhavair bhakti bhireva cha lingam, dinakara koti prabhakara lingam, tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. So Devaganas, Gana means a group. Any group, it's called a Gana. Gananam is also counting, So, Gana is a group. Deva Ganas is all the Devas. So, the one who is worshipped by all the Devas. Not only just that, but Bhavair Bhakti Bhavair, with an attitude of devotion, the one who is worshipped with devotion. And the one who is Dinakara Koti Prabhakara Lingam. Dinakaram is what? The one who causes the day. Dinam is called Dinakara. Another name for Surya. So the one that is like Surya. We're having Koti Prabhas, means crores, means thousands, millions of rays. So the one who's bright like the sun with crores of rays of light, because he's in the form of awareness. Unto that lingam is pranamami, I salute. Ashtadalo pariveshtita lingam, sarvasamudbhava karana lingam, ashtadaritra vinashana lingam, tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. Ashtadalo pariveshtitam. Ashtadala is the 8-petaled lotus. So the one who is pariveshtitam, the one who is covered. So the one who is covered by this particular lotus, the 8-petaled lotus, who is adorned by them. Sarva samudbhava karanam. Udbhavam is manifesting. Sarva samudbhavam means the one that is the cause of the manifestation of this entire manifestation. The entire Jagat means Jagat Karanam. So the one who is the Jagat Karanam is Sarva Samudbhava Karanam, the infinite Lord, Lingam. Ashta Daridra Vinashana Lingam. So the one that destroys all these different kinds of, so Dukkham, Daridra. Daridra is poverty, penury, poverty. What are the different kinds of poverty? They say this Ashta Daridram is the opposite of Ashta Lakshmi. Ashta Lakshmis are there. Dhana Lakshmi, Dhanya Lakshmi. So all this Vara Lakshmi, etc. There are Ashta Lakshmis. Lakshmis represent prosperity and richness. Then not having that is the poverty. That is the Daridryam, Daridrata. So you have to have all of that. Otherwise you are not rich. So thus the opposite of these 8 Lakshmis is the 8 types of Daridri. So Ashta Daridra Vinasham, the one who destroys all these different types of poverty that we have within us. You can have a lot of money and still feel very poor inside. Yeah. Tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. Suraguru Suravara Pujita Lingam. Suravana Pushpa Sadachita Lingam. Parat Param Paramatmaka Lingam. Tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. So Suraguru, Suravara Pujitam. Suraguru, we know who's Suraguru. So the Guru of the Suras is Brihaspati. Brihaspati. Brihaspati is Suraguru. Asura Guru is Shukracharya. So Sura, the one who is worshipped by Lord Brihaspati, the Guru Brihaspati, and then Sura Varas. So Varas means exalted, those who are exalted, Devas, exalted Devas. Then Sura Vana Pushpa Sadachitam, the one who is worshipped by the flowers of what? Of Suravanam. Suravanam is the heavenly. So the heavenly gardens have heavenly trees, which have heavenly flowers, having heavenly fragrance, all heavenly. Means otherworldly, can't even imagine. So how beautiful they are. So thus, the one who is worshipped by them, Parat Param, the one who is, so Param is Shreshtham, and Parat Param, the one who is the most exalted of all that is exalted, so the one that transcends everything. Param also means that which is transcendental. Desha Kala Vastu, that which transcends time, Desha, Kala and objectivity is called definition of Param. So the one that is, there are many things which transcend, Devas transcend, but then among all that transcends, he transcends all of them. So that is Parat Param. Parat Param Parameshwara. There is a song like that. No? So Parat Para Parameshwara. He is Parat Para, the one who is that which transcends all that other things that transcends at a relative level. Then Paramatma. He is Parama and he is Atma. Paramatma. That is the meaning of Paramatma. So the one that is Param and at the same time, so is not separate, is in the form of the Atma, the subject. Tat pranamami sada Shivalingam. Lingashtakamidam punyam yaf pated Shiva sannidhav Shivalokam avapnoti Shivena saha modate. So this is, the 8 verses are over. This is generally all Shiva prayers end with this. Lingashtakam idam punyam yaha pated. This is a Phalashruti. So the one who who recites, the one who studies this Lingashtakam, Shiva Sannidhau, Sannidhi. So in the presence of Lord Shiva in front of an altar, so with other bhaktas, the one who recites this, what happens? Shivalokam avapnoti, he gains Shivaloka. You go to Kailasha. Either relatively, if you want to go to Kailasha, you visit Kailasha, or Shivalokam is, so Atmajnanam, the one who will gain moksha. Apnoti. Shivena saha modate. He will find with the oneness with Lord Shiva, means he'll find Ananda. He'll find Ananda being one with Lord Shiva. Okay. So we can recite the whole thing today. Okay, next. We can give that. Brahma Murari Surarchita Lingam Nirmala Bhashita Shobhita Lingam Janmaja Dukkha Vinashaka Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Deva Muni Pravararjita Lingam Kamadaham Karunakara Lingam Ravana Darpa Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Sarva Sugandhi Sulepita Lingam Buddhi Vivardhana Karana Lingam Siddha Surasura Vandita Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Kanaka Mahamani Bhushita Lingam Panipati Veshtita Shobhita Lingam Daksha Suyajna Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Kumkuma Chandana Lepita Lingam Pankajahara Sushobhita Lingam Sanchita Papa Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Devaganarchita Sevita Lingam Bhavair Bhakti Vireva Lingam Dinakara Koti Prabhakara Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Ashtadalo Pariveshita Lingam Sarva Samudbhava Karana Lingam Ashtadavitra Vinashana Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Suraguru Suravara Pujita Lingam Suravana Pushpa Sadachita Lingam Parat Param Paramatmaka Lingam Tat Pranamami Sada Shivalingam Lingashtakamidam Punyam Yapate Shiva Sannidau Shivalokam Shivena Sahamodate. They say that some